Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Now today's question comes from Twitter. I hopped over there and asked you all what you wanted me to talk about today, and I got a ton of requests. So if this question isn't yours, don't worry. I've jotted them all down in my list, and those are coming soon. So make sure you're subscribed and make sure you have your notifications turned on because you don't want to miss them. But today's question is a good one, and it is, how important is a diagnosis in therapy? I've been in therapy for 4 years, and I never got a clear diagnosis. And I hear this a lot, and I think it's important to talk about all of the different components of a diagnosis. Firstly, I want to talk about the client's perspective, okay? For whoever asked this question, I think that a diagnosis is only important if it matters to you. If you have all these symptoms and you wonder what the hell is going on and you feel terrible and you don't know how to describe it to people, having a word or having a term or a diagnosis to describe it can be really helpful and it can be validating. For many of my clients, they'll say, it's just so nice to be able to say, oh, it's just my anxiety, or I have panic disorder, and so that's what's going on. And to have a term that you can place on it can be like, that's what it is. I'm not just going crazy or feeling like I'm drowning periodically. That's what's happening. And so in that respect, I think that diagnosis can be, or diagnoses as a whole, can be really helpful and really beneficial because it can help us feel more understood and help us better help ourselves. Then we might know what workbooks to look up, what specialists we might want to see if we're not in therapy, or if we're in therapy, maybe we need to move on to a specialist. All sorts of things. It can open up a whole world where we can help ourselves better. Now, the second component is the therapist perspective. And diagnoses are important to me for various reasons. The first being, if I work with a treatment plan, which I think all therapists should do, and a treatment plan is really what I put together with you. It's a living, breathing, working document that we utilize in order to make sure that we're still working on our goals together and we're still moving and tracking towards those goals. And so when I first meet with my clients, I often ask them, what symptoms are you experiencing? Like, what brought you in today? What goals do you have, short-term, long-term? And then I'll even sometimes break them down into personal goals, work or school goals, things like that. And so that kind of helps us track what we're doing together. It's a treatment plan. It's a plan for your treatment. And a diagnosis can really help with that because once I kind of know what we're working on, let's say it's self-injury and we want to work on those impulses, it can help cater the tools and techniques I'm going to offer in order to help you achieve the goal. Another reason that diagnoses are important is insurance companies. And I have to be honest, that's probably one of the number one reasons why I ever write down a diagnostic code and go through the symptomology step by step, is because insurance companies require it. They need to know what's going on in order to cover your treatment and your therapy sessions. A way to kind of hopefully make this make sense is like you couldn't just go to your regular GP doctor and have them just bill your insurance for $500 and not explain any of it, right? They usually have like a breakdown with these codes about what they were treating. Like a code saying you had to be tested for the flu, right? And so the same goes for therapy. And you can see why it's necessary, although it's very annoying. And so there are certain diagnoses that get extreme great coverage. You can go to inpatient, you can get all this stuff. And there are others that they're like, oh, you can have 5 sessions and we're done. And so those codes are very important. And those codes come out of DSM diagnoses. And that's really why we have to have them. And that's why I have those conversations with my clients about it. I always talk to my clients about it before I put something on a super bill or an insurance form, because insurances keep that information. In the States, we've been dealing with pre-existing conditions and what that means for coverage. And a pre-existing condition just means you had something before you got that coverage. And so then they may say, oh, we can't cover you. And so different diagnoses can lead to that. So it's really important as a client, as a patient, to understand what's going on in your record and to understand what they think that you're struggling with, because you are the only person who knows your experience through and through. And so it's important to have a conversation about it. And if you feel like you've been giving the wrong diagnosis or you don't know if you have a diagnosis, you can ask and you can talk about it, because at the end of the day, it's yours. It's what you're working on. It's what you came to therapy for, and hopefully you feel that it fits your experience. I think the message that I want you all to hear is that you have a right to know what it is. You have a right to ask about it. And more importantly, you have a right to ask for other opinions. I always, if a client doesn't agree with a diagnosis, which I actually don't think I've had happen knock on wood, but it hasn't happened to me. But if it did, I am more than willing to send my clients out for different assessments, to go to different testing centers if they don't think that the diagnoses that I gave them fits. And so know that you have a right to talk about it. You have a right to tell them why or why not you think it fits, and you have a right to get other assessments, because we need to make sure that we're getting the treatment that we need and deserve, right? And if we aren't diagnosed properly, let's say they're treating bipolar disorder when we really struggle with borderline personality disorder, I have a video to tell you the difference, then we might not be getting what we really need. And if we're on medication, that can get even more confusing. Just know that you have a right to ask them about it, figure out what it is, and to have a conversation. Because diagnoses can follow us, they can get us treatment, they can make sure we get the help that we need, and they can make sure that we're actually getting the treatment for what we're struggling with. So talk about it, know that it's completely okay to question it, to agree or disagree, and a therapist isn't gonna be upset with you asking what it is and why. It's part of the treatment process, and I honestly believe that they should all be open to having it with you. So speak up, advocate for yourself, and make sure you're getting the treatment that you need and deserve. I hope you found that helpful. I know there are a lot of questions regarding diagnoses, and I hope that just kind of clears up what rights you have and how we diagnose people. And as a surprise and a little bonus, I put journal topics in the description. I know a lot of you have been missing them. If you are an OG viewer, remember on my FAQ videos at the end, I always offered up a journal topic, and I know a lot of you have been wanting them. So I put some in the description, so check those out. And as always, thank you so much to my Patreon patrons. Without your support, this channel wouldn't be possible. So this video is brought to you by them. Thank you so much. And if you're curious what Patreon is, you can click the link in the description and check it out. It's just another way to support channels like Kati Morton and make sure that we can continue to create content. Now click over here to subscribe. I put out videos twice a week, and I also do some live streams, and you don't want to miss them, so make sure your notifications are turned on, and I will see you next time. Bye!